Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are talking about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Reunion Part 2 and Southern Charm. Let's get into it. Saturday, everyone. I hope everyone's had a great week, and my apologies for not putting out episodes on Thursday and Friday. I feel like I start every episode with an apology, but that is just the Canadian in me. And to be honest with you guys, like, this is a podcast, so it shouldn't be like super negative all the time about my life. So I am not going to get into what's going on. I'm just going to say that I'm just dealing with a lot of anxiety and stress right now. Hopefully that'll be wrapped up soon, but I don't know about you guys. I'm usually the type of person with my anxiety where it actually like pushes me to move forward. Like, I kind of sometimes don't even mind my anxiety because it makes me get shit done. I'm like so anxious that I'm like, oh my God, if this doesn't get done, we're all gonna die. But there are some people where their anxiety sort of paralyzes them. And that's not typically me, but that has been me lately. And I think it's just because I feel so overwhelmed with my anxiety that it's just kind of taken over me in another way. So it was just feeling kind of paralyzing the last couple of days. And you guys know, like, I don't want to be fake when I come on here. I want to talk about these shows in a way where we're having a good time, right? So if I don't feel like I could do that in like a good way, then I won't, and I'll wait. So today we're going to do 4 shows, but for this episode, we're going to talk Salt Lake City Reunion Part 2 and Southern Charm, Season 11, Episode 8. And then later today, I'm going to do The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and the Valley Persian style, just to split up the day a little bit. I think it might be a little bit more fun for me that way and fun for y'all, right? So I am so happy to be talking to you guys about these episodes. I am just like really enjoying Bravo right now, and Peacock and all the other things that are going on. I'm just having a good time. We'll start with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Reunion Part 2, Season 6. This is the only thing that I'm not feeling super jazzed about. And guys, I feel like we're not wrapping anything up. Like, reunions used to be about like conflict and resolution. That's what Andy used to say. We're coming here to resolve something. And I feel like instead, we spent the entire first part of this reunion bringing up things that weren't happening on camera, like things that happened at BravoCon, just like new random things. And then this episode was like, okay, we're bringing up some of the issues, like the plane and that kind of thing, but we're not concluding. We're not wrapping it up. It just ends up leading to such a loud fight that Andy's like, okay, we need to move on. So I feel like we're not really resolving anything. And if we're not resolving anything, then like, how do we move into the next season, right? I just feel like, in a sense, the reunions are creating more chaos and more drama that then leads into the next season, because we know these people don't really talk in between seasons. But I don't know. I just feel like we really didn't get a lot out of this year. Like, we got a lot of questions, but not a lot of answers. So we pick up where we left off with Angie and her scroll, and she's claiming that there's this like online account that she's had her eye on for a couple of years that was pro Lisa. And then it started talking shit about her. And because she didn't have a lot of followers at the time, she said, she was able to see who viewed her stories, which I still do. I look at who looks at my stories. And she noticed that there was this account, Candace Story, that was looking at her stories about Electra's birthday. And then right after that, Lisa wished Electra a happy birthday, but didn't view her story. So Angie's like, okay, smoking gun. And then Angie says that when you try to change the password in Instagram, it tells you the number that it sent it to, which is Lisa's number. So I have tried to do this before because there was this person in our Bravo zeitgeist who me and someone else were trying to figure out if they were creating all of these fake accounts to like basically like rage bait people. And I don't know if we did it from Instagram or from TikTok. But you do, yeah, you send the like forget password, and then the number that it came back with, which was missing a couple of numbers, was that guy's number. And I was just like, holy shit. Now, Lisa's like, that's not how you find out if it's someone's account. And she said it's not her, and they must have just entered in her number and hit forgot password, send to this number. That's possible too. And listen, I'm an investigator, but I don't need to like sit here and try to remember how this works or figure it out for myself. I don't really want to because I just don't care, right? Like I just don't think this is important. But yes, I could totally sit here and figure this out for you. It's just not important. Um, do I think Lisa did this? Probably not. I love when she says she doesn't have the time for this kind of thing. I think she more than has enough time. I just don't think I just don't. Um, I also, this is just sort of like Angie trying to create a reality Von Teese moment, right? And it's just like, so you guys are all out there with your fake accounts talking shit about each other. Probably, like probably, right? And so I just kind of feel like to try to drum up like a new drama that we've already done just felt like sort of moot. I love Angie, I really do. I don't know. I love her with her scrolls and her this and that, but like also the fact that she's talking about a period of time when she didn't have a lot of followers or Electra's birthday, she couldn't be talking about years ago at this point, right? Because she has like 250 followers, 250,000 followers now. What period of time are you talking about? Was this like your first year on the show? And this is what we're referring to? Like, I really don't know. Like, I really don't. Um, but again, like, who cares? So we just kind of want to move on from it. So we don't get the truth because Andy wants to move on. And this is when Andy gets annoyed and leaves, but it only lasts for like a second. Like, we saw this play out like in the previews that he was going to walk off, but the whole thing literally lasted for a second. And Heather's like, we're sorry, Daddy Andy. And I know everyone hates Heather right now, but I did think that that was kind of funny. So Lisa asks Heather if she wants to bring out the pictures that she has on her phone. And I'm confused about this. This is them just continuing to fight. And then this is apparently about a picture of Meredith with a guy that she dated when she and Seth were separated. So, like, who cares? But, like, Lisa is the one that brought this up. No, right? Like, I guess she was aware that Heather had this picture, but Lisa says, Heather, do you want to bring out that picture that you have on your phone? So I don't know if she was planning to bring this up to get at Meredith. Maybe that was her impression that she knew that Heather had this and was going to try to bring it up. But regardless, Heather didn't bring it up. Lisa did. So this is kind of weird. Then we get Mary's segment. She gets super emotional talking about Robert Jr. So he's in jail right now because he keeps going over to his ex-wife's house and she had filed for divorce. So he keeps trying to like go over there. And every time he goes over there, they call the cops. They eventually had to file a restraining order, but he kept like going over there. So he ends up being tased. Oh, it's so awful. It really is. Now, Mary says that she's not too worried about him because she knows that he's safe and he's not using. And this actually reminded me a lot of Amber Portwood from Teen Mom, because many, many, many years ago, she did also go to jail. And it was a choice of hers to go to jail or rehab, I think. But she was doing drugs at the time. So she actually wanted to go to jail because she knew that she wouldn't be using there. And she knew that it was sort of like the only way she would get over her drug addiction. So, I mean, there is rehab, right? Like there are other ways, but not everything works for everybody. And for some reason that worked for her. And maybe this will work for Robert. So Mary says that she's had to deal with the fact that she's letting him learn the hard way. And that must be so difficult, right? Because she's really tried to be there for him. She's really tried to support him, but it's a difficult dance because there's moments where she's like, okay, he's obviously high right now and today's not a good day. She could kick him out of the house. She could be like, I'm never speaking to you again. But that's not the choice that she made. And, you know, she's trying to deal with it so tentatively. And, you know, I have to praise her for that. Who knows how each of us would try to deal with a situation like this? It's super complicated. It's super difficult. I think it's interesting that she and Robert Sr. both haven't gone to visit him in jail. Now, she says that she can't really see him like that, which I understand, but that must be so lonely for him. And he's apparently like been asking for books and stuff. I just feel sad for him that, I mean, he speaks with her every day, so that's great. It just makes me sad that he's literally alone there. So Andy brings up the documentary, the Mary Cosby documentary. And at this point in time when they filmed this reunion, I'm not sure when that was in terms of how far away the documentary was coming out. And obviously we didn't know at the time its extent. She says that she's hurt about the documentary itself, but she's thankful for all the people on her side. She doesn't know why people think it's a cult. She thinks it may have to do with a Pentecostal church being in Utah or it being a Black church. I mean, there were many things that were brought up in the documentary, but obviously that was after the fact. It really is crazy the way we have all turned for Mary, right? Like, we thought she was crazy. We thought she was in a cult. We thought she was weird for marrying her step grandfather. And now we like sing her praises. We listen to everything that she says. And it's crazy because sometimes something will be happening on this show, and I'm like, this person is just trying to create drama. But then when Mary says the exact same thing, I take it so much more seriously because it's coming from Mary. She's literally become like the voice of reason, the what do you call it? Like the Queen Mary, right? Like it's crazy. And it's crazy how us as the audience are able to flip like that. Like we're awful. We're awful in that way. Okay, so when the topic of Meredith and Lisa's friendship comes up, Mary brings up Lisa calling her a whore and saying that she slept with half of New York, and this frustrates Lisa. Now, I'm very confused as to why Mary is so mad at Lisa. Like, she accuses Lisa of only caring about Lisa and not knowing what's going on. And then in the other episode, the first episode, she called Lisa delusional and said that she's a risky friend. And Lisa is shocked that Mary is acting this way towards her, but Mary calls her dark and says that she needs help. So I'm like, whoa, something must have happened here because we didn't really see this energy coming from Mary during the season towards Lisa. She definitely had some feelings towards Meredith and was very open about that. She was worried about Meredith, but she was also kind of getting angry towards the end and like, you know, was very vocal about that. But this attitude towards Lisa sort of feels new to me, and it feels like something happened that we're not aware of. And this is the kind of thing that we should be digging deep into. Andy should be like, hey, Mary, what's the deal? Why are you so mad at Lisa? Do you want to have something to say to her? Like, is there something you want to bring up? But no, right? So now we have this weird contention between Lisa and Mary. Lisa doesn't even seem to know what this is about. So this is just really interesting. And I hate that we're not even going to delve into this until next season, if that, right? So then Andy brings up Brittany bringing up on Watch What Happens Live that she has proof that Seth is cheating. And Brittany says that Seth told someone that's close to her who told her that Seth has two girlfriends. And Lisa's like, okay, so Jared told you that Seth told him that he has two girlfriends? And Lisa's like, well, he said a lot of things. It's just ridiculous. Now, we do get in the uncensored version, Meredith calls Seth, and Seth's like, I'm obsessed with my wife and I love my wife and blah, 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 blah. So it's like, whatever, debunked. I mean, I really don't believe that Seth is cheating on Meredith. This is like a recurring theme, I guess, that's coming up. But like, I don't know. They do spend a lot of time together. I really don't even think the situation that was brought up where Seth went to dinner with someone in New York was really anything. Like, it was an investor. It was a business meeting. If it was a man, nobody would think twice about it. Are we discriminating against women as being investors, right? Or are we discriminating against Seth for meeting with women investors because they're women? Like, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, who cares that she was a woman if you think about it? I really don't. So Brittany talks about the whole seizures thing that she said about Meredith. And she's like, well, Olivia had seizures when she was little. And so it sort of triggered me when Meredith went off, but she apologized for it at the end of the day. I really think that was weird, especially the way that she was portraying it on the reunion. Like, I'm not going to mimic it because it was very offensive, in my opinion, and I don't think anyone's brought it up. But like the way that Brittany was imitating someone with seizures, it was a little cringe. So I'm glad that she apologized for that, and I hope she doesn't bring something like that up again. So then we get to the topic of the plane, you know, our favorite topic. And this reminds me so much of like Lindsay and Carl in Summer House and how every time that they would get in a fight in an Uber, there was no footage. And this plane situation is another one of these situations. And there is just so much discourse around like why no one recorded it. And the very important point was brought up that like, if, for example, Brittany had brought out her phone, people would have lost their minds. There apparently was a producer sitting behind them, but in a different class. Heather's like, we don't really like record each other. I think another point is that I think they were probably all kind of loopy because they were in and out of sleep. And so like you might not even sort of be thinking about it, I guess. But the answer is basically like there's no good answer as to why there is no recording. Meredith accuses Heather of screeching at her for 2 months, and Heather's like, well, our friendship is over then. Like these two, I just can't. Meredith denies doing anything on the plane aside from asking Whitney for the TikTok and using Brittany's seat to climb over Lisa when she was sitting next to her. But that was basically it, right? Like, you know, what are all the things that we heard? That she was shaking the chair and saying this one, that she was pulling Brittany's hair, that she was demanding the TikTok, that she was making Brittany cry. She's saying she was having a conversation with Lisa. I guess at some point Lisa fell asleep. She, I guess, was using Brittany's chair to leverage herself to get up. Maybe that pulled Brittany's hair a little bit. And maybe because everybody is sort of in and out of sleep, it seems different than it is. But it's also interesting that everyone has the same memories despite being in and out of sleep. But also, I mean, when you kind of all come together and tell your story together, maybe they all ended up sort of merging their stories, not even necessarily on purpose, but again, your memories are sort of skewed because you're in and out of sleep and then somebody fills something in for you and now that's your memory. So that's very possible. But I don't think we're ever going to figure out exactly what happened on the plane. And I'm annoyed that Meredith isn't taking any accountability whatsoever, right? Like she's found a way to explain away all of the little pieces that, um, she feels that she needs to answer for. But it is still very odd that everyone has the same story except for her and that she's taking zero accountability for it. Now, I will still give her props, I guess, for the fact that if it was really that contentious and really that bad, wouldn't like, the plane people is what I was going to say, the stewardesses or like, what are these people called? Flight attendants? All of these flight attendants would have been, I don't know, like having an issue with it or trying to, what's the word? Like, guys, I'm losing my words today. What is the word? Like trying to calm down the situation, I guess. But, we'll never know. We'll never know. That's the problem. So then Andy asks Meredith if she had a drink before getting on the plane. Now, what's really interesting is we never get back to this because Meredith says that before she answers that question, which she really wants to answer, and keep in mind she never answered it, is that she wants to explain her contentious history with Brittany and why she really doesn't like Brittany. So she explains that they have a fractured relationship and this is why. So Meredith said that she had this nail tech, and this nail tech ended up making some anti-Semitic statements that made the news. It was sort of like a big deal. He was getting bad reviews because of it, so he asked Brittany and Jared to give him some good reviews, which they did. Meredith says that she was called out for it, and Brittany apparently said, I only saw the one thing, was there more? Meredith feels like Brittany should have reached out to her, and when she brought this up to Brittany, Brittany was rude and a bitch about it. Now, here's Brittany's version. She said that there was this nail tech that reached out to her saying that he did Meredith's nails and that he could do her nails for a pose. So she said, sure. So then he reached out later saying that he was getting all of these bad reviews and asked if she could help. And she thought, of course, it was the least she could do. Then people sent her all of like these horrible posts. So she called him and asked if this was true, but she didn't need to reach out to Meredith because she handled it the way that she was supposed to. And she didn't even like know him before Meredith had worked with him. Brittany says that's when she found out how hard this was for Meredith and how hurt she was. And she cried to Meredith and held her like a baby and apologized profusely for it. So Meredith feels like Brittany just loves to make herself the victim. And when Andy asked Meredith if Brittany has ever actually done anything or said anything anti-Semitic towards her, she said that Brittany has been on the attack of her since the beginning, which is basically saying that like she's anti-Semitic. And I believe that the reason that she's been attacking me is because she like hates Jews. That's essentially what she's saying. So Brittany is very upset. She gets up and leaves because to be called a bigot is like a really big deal. Listen, this situation is absolutely ridiculous. And it really reminds me of like Jax and Brittany on Vanderpump Rules and their whole pastor situation. Because remember, the pastor had made all of like these anti-LGBTQ posts. And then Brittany and Jax claimed that they'd only seen like the one. And then they reached out to the pastor and he's like, no, I don't feel that way. So they were like, it's all good. And then season 8 rolls around, which is the season of Jax and Brittany's wedding. And Ariana and Tom keep trying to bring this up to Jax and Brittany because they're like, hey, it's more than just the one post. We're all being tagged in this stuff. And you'd have to be super, super oblivious to not see it, which Jax and Brittany are. Right? That's what really rings true to me here. Brittany Bateman is not the most intelligent person in the world, okay? And I say this to her defense. I really don't think that she knew that this guy was anti-Semitic. I think that she handles it correctly. She only knew that he existed because of Meredith. Once she found out what he did, she contacted him about it. She apologized to Meredith, saying that Brittany has been attacking her since the beginning because essentially she hates Jews is really an assumption and a stretch. Because listen, all of these women attack each other, all of them. Heather and Meredith aren't speaking right now. So is Heather anti-Semitic, right? Like, it's a really damaging thing to say. And as a Jewish person, it's funny that I'm the one saying it, but I am, because I feel like this is really insane. It's so out of nowhere. It's like, okay, for example, when I left my last job, not my last job, the job before where I was being bullied, HR had done something to me where they were like completely ignoring my emails about my mental health. And I had sent an email about my mental health. And so had a colleague of mine. She sent almost an identical email. She wanted to see mine, which I was sending sort of on behalf. It was about my mental health, but also about the team. My colleague wanted to see it, and then she decided to send her own separately. So she did. HR responded to her email and not to mine. And in my super, super ragey days, and listen, I ended up leaving this job and they ended up making me sign something saying I would like not talk about them or whatever. And I'm not even naming them, so it's fine. But I only say this to say I was so like ragey and angry after the whole thing happened that like I had considered, not actually, but in my mind, do you guys ever do that thing where you like play a scenario in your mind that didn't actually happen just to sort of play out how it would happen? Like, let's say you're not dating someone anymore, but you have this scenario where you like show up at his house and tell him off and he feels really stupid. You would never actually do it, but it's something that you play out in your head. So I had this like play out in my head of where I email HR and I'm like, so you answer some people, but not others? Is it because I'm a Jew? Is it because I'm fat? Because I just wanted to say the most insane things, because why would you answer one girl and not another? So do you hate fat people? Do you hate Jews? Why are you not answering one email but another when they are identical emails? You must have some sort of bias. Now, I never said this, and I knew that it would be super rage baity to say something like this. And of course I never would, but it was something that went on in my mind because I was so fucking angry. But I would never actually do it because it is so insane. Now, I don't think that Brittany has done enough to Meredith for Meredith to come at her this way, because again, it is extremely damaging. It's out of nowhere. It's an assumption that you're making. You're assuming that because she doesn't like you, she doesn't like Jews. That's ridiculous, right? Maybe she just doesn't like you, or maybe she's just playing the game. We in this Bravo verse are all mean to each other. Everyone on this cast has been coming for each other, coming for each other's marriages, this, that, and whatever. I don't really understand why this is different. And I think she's just trying to put Brittany on the attack. I feel like she did this in front of Andy Cohen because he's Jewish. So she knew that this would resonate with him. And this was in such poor taste to me, in my opinion. So that's basically it for part 2 of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion. We have one more part, and I guess this is the part where we're finally going to get to some information about Bronwyn and Todd and the demise of their marriage. I'm just disappointed that we're not getting this until the 3rd part, and we barely got anything from Bronwyn during the 2nd part, right? Again, I feel like we very much have not dealt with all of the issues that have come up during this season. We haven't resolved them, which means they're probably just going to follow us into the next season, which we do tend to get annoyed with. I feel like as an audience, we don't love it when like we're just bringing up the same storylines over and over again. And that's why it would be great to just, deal with them at the reunion. But here we are. So I hope the 3rd part of the reunion is epic. Yes, we want to know more about Bronwyn and Todd. What else do we want to know? I guess we're done with the play-in situation. We never really dealt with Whitney and her marriage. I don't know if we're going to get to that at all, but like, I'm sorry, that whole scene that we saw where Bronwyn and Whitney sit down and talk about like their marriages, and Whitney goes on about how like she and what's his name, Justin, have like an agreement, and that, as long as you have an agreement, because he's older, they're going to go out and do other things. And as long as they're careful and they're complying with their agreement, it's all good. And I'm like, I need more detail here. So are you sleeping with other people? How often? What is the agreement exactly? I want all the details. Plus, Whitney was trying to create this whole storyline this year about like her business and how it affected her relationship with Justin. So are we going to talk about that whatsoever? Because we did get a scene of Whitney sitting down with Justin outside and being like, you sort of suckered me into an MLM and now I'm screwed. And I don't know how I feel in this marriage anymore, right? Like we did get a lot of that. So I kind of want to delve into that more. And then we did get a little bit this season about Lisa and John and how their communication sucks. It looks like that's going to come up in the next episode, because I think Andy says something like, a lot of viewers feel like John is trying to embarrass you on camera. So I hope we do get more there. But because of the way that Lisa is, she might say something to the effect of like, oh yeah, we were having some communication issues, but now everything is perfect because, that's Lisa. And then who else do we have on the cast? I mean, we haven't, not that anybody cares, but I don't think we have the current relationship status between Brittany and um, Jared. And then I don't think we've talked about Brittany's relationship with her kids either, because that was a storyline as well. So you'd think that we'd want to hear where she currently is today with Olivia and Taylor. Um, so it seems like there's quite a bit more. It's funny because sometimes I feel like we only need two reunion episodes, but this time I think we need four. But that's probably only because we didn't get enough in parts one and two. I'm excited because I'm still like wanting as much of this show as possible. But then again, when this ends, we are transitioning to Summer House, which I could not be more jazzed about. That is coming back on February the 3rd, and I am so freaking excited. All right, let's move on to Southern Charm, season 11, episode 8. So we start with Craig and Madison. They have a phone call. Madison is eating because she's pregnant and she is hungry. And he says that Austin was being negative the night before, which is why he didn't come to Madison's house for the sleepover. So remember, the guys were all out. Craig was talking about the Sally situation and how he thinks she's kind of a tornado and chaotic. And now she's coming between him and Charlie. And Austin's like, I just think she's like funny, cute, and single. I don't really think she's all the things you're saying. And then Craig's like, well, like, I think I need to pull back from my friendship with her. She's a tornado. She's affecting everything. And I don't know. Again, with Austin and Craig, there's nothing that these two can say to each other without them blowing up. I mean, literally, Austin had said something in the previous episode, like, I mean, you hung out with Sally for like a month, dude. She was like your best friend. And Craig's like, just because you hang out with someone doesn't make them your best friend. And it's like, oh God, these two just cannot. They just cannot. So he had gone home and didn't show up at the house. But Madison explains that what you missed was that Austin really upset Sally with all the things that Craig said. Madison says that, Sally had feelings for you. And he's like, I know, but I never gave her that impression. And Madison's like, well, there was the hot tub and there was the text saying that you should have stayed over. Now, Craig clarifies that he didn't actually want Sally to stay over and that he just said that because he didn't know what else to say and he's just a stupid boy. Okay, the text had said like something like, I should have stayed. And he's like, yeah, you should have, or something like that. Now, you didn't need to say anything, first of all, okay? Like, I've been in many of a situation where I've sort of flirted with a guy via text and then he didn't respond, which gives me the answer, right? So what could he have said? He could have said nothing. He could have just done a thumbs up. And then she definitely would have gotten the hint. Like, listen, if she had said, I should have stayed, and he just put a thumbs up or he said nothing, do you think we'd even be at this point? No, that would have been a clear-cut sign that he was not interested. And I'm kind of also annoyed by the fact that, like, remember earlier on when he was telling Sally that, like, oh, when we were in the hot tub, I thought something was going to happen, but then it didn't. So are you changing your story now that you've had time to create a certain narrative to make Sally look a certain way? Like, the man is a lawyer and a storyteller, right? Because when she was confessing her feelings to him, he's like, yeah, in the hot tub, I thought something was going to happen, but then it didn't. But now you're saying, oh, no, I would have never been interested in her in that way. And, I only responded to her text about wanting to stay over because I didn't know what else to say. And LOL, I'm just a stupid boy. He's kind of playing the whole, like, I'm just a girl. And it's just kind of, it's a little ridiculous. Like, yes, you are a stupid boy. And yeah, you didn't handle this great, but, take a little bit of accountability here. Like, she's not insane, right? Like, she's been spending a lot of time with you in your hot tub. And I think that if she had made the move, he definitely would have gone for it. Oh, and also at the beginning of the season, when, he was just sort of looking around at his choices, I guess, Madison was like, isn't Sally gorgeous? And he's like, Sally is so beautiful. Sally is absolutely beautiful. Now, that doesn't mean that he has to be with her in any sense, but I think that there were a lot of things that led us to believe that he may have been interested at some point. So I feel like he's just backtracking all of that now to make this look like it was all in Sally's head and to create the narrative that, he was only ever interested in Charlie and Sally has no right to have any feelings about that. But here's the thing. She's a girl. She's going to have feelings about it, right? Like, I don't think she's doing anything like devious. I don't think she's like telling Charlie she's not allowed to date him. I don't think it's the same situation as Vanita and Sally because Vanita didn't have feelings for Craig. So it's different. I don't really think, sorry that I'm being so defensive of Sally here, guys. Do I think she's a pick-me? Absolutely. But also remember that this is a town where All everybody cares about is relationship status. This show, despite being a reality show, is very much about like settling down and getting married. It's kind of the theme, right? So like there's a group of people on this show and everybody's goal in the season is to like settle down and get married. And when are you going to do that next? And when you finally do find someone, then the whole narrative is supposed to be about when are you going to have a baby or when are you getting married, right? Like this is the deep south. This is all we talk about. So I think it's kind of normal that Sally is hopping from guy to guy to guy because she's just like figuring it out, right? And when you have feelings for someone, it's normal to feel jealous if he likes your friend better, right? Like, I think we'd all feel that way. She didn't tell Charlie not to date her, but I think it's normal for her to feel a type of way about it. Like, wouldn't we all? So then we move on to Austin and his sister getting sibling tattoos in honor of their late sister, Kyle. They wanted to commemorate her because Katie wouldn't be here without Kyle's death, which was really such a blessing for their family. Now, this is such an interesting time for this scene to come up, given that 2 weeks ago is when Austin was on the Bio Files, and he was very inappropriately asked by Natalie Joy about the death of his sister and what was this cliff and all of that stuff. It is, yeah, been over 2 weeks now. They still haven't apologized, but it really just shows to me why sensitivity was required in this case. I think it's very possible that Natalie Joy was thinking, this happened so long ago. He's talked about it on TV. It's totally fine and normal for him to just kind of talk about it in a very haphazard type of way. But it's not, because it's the death of your sister. And like I mentioned in previous episodes, Austin is a trauma victim. He watched his sister die, and that makes you a victim of trauma. And that means that you have to handle speaking about that with a certain level of care and sensitivity that Natalie Joy and Nick Viall did not do. And I think this scene showing how much the family is still affected by this trauma shows how much you can't talk about something like this so haphazardly, and that, yes, this is something that happened a long time ago. And yes, maybe he's used to talking about it, but it doesn't hurt any less. I think this scene really shows that. And I think this scene really points to why, again, it's so important to be sensitive about these types of things, no matter how long ago they happened, or no matter how often someone has talked about them. It is still something that is very, very sensitive. So Austin tells Katie that Audrey is coming down and he's really excited. And, you know, Katie is actually kind of not happy about this because she really likes Audrey. And she feels like if Austin has any hesitation about Audrey, because they've been together a year and a half, and, you know, if you don't want her to move to Charleston, then it's not fair to her and he should let her know now. And it's true, right? A year and a half is a long time, but Austin just feels like, you know, he has reservations about everything. He had reservations about getting cats. He feels like he's enjoying himself, but he knows the end is coming, but it almost feels like he wants to relish in the good for as long as he can. The thing about Austin is, I don't think he's ever going to settle down. I think he keeps trying because, again, this is the Deep South and this is what you're expected to do. When he met Audrey, he was goo goo gaga over her. And I was like, oh my God, is this it? Is this the girl for Austin? Is there really like someone for him that's made him feel this way? And I think just over time, with the way that Austin is, you know, it loses its luster. And he gets to that point where he's like, okay, I know I need to make a move and I'm not ready to do that. And then he has to break up with them because it's only fair to the girl. Now, he hasn't said anything negative about her or in terms of spending time with her. It seems like he really enjoys spending time with her. And that's why I feel like he has let this go on for so long, because nothing bad is happening. He does love her. He does want to spend time with her. He does enjoy her. He's never said anything negative about her in that regard. But I think it's the whole concept of like time. And with this being South Carolina, because I don't know, if this was a different place, let's say maybe New York, maybe people wouldn't be pushing you so hard for being with someone for a year and a half and where's it going and what's happening. But because it's Charleston, people are like, you know, her eggs and you're not being fair to her and this and that. And listen, I'm a girl and I feel for Audrey, and it would be so unfair for her to be in a relationship that's not going anywhere. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, you know, he should be with her longer. I really don't. But I think that there's something in the water of Charleston and in the people that makes him have to end things when he does, because he's like, okay, it's getting to that point where it's becoming unfair. So I've got to cut it. And that is what's fair. That is what's only fair to Audrey if she does eventually want to get married and have kids. And if he's not going to do that with her. but then maybe he just shouldn't date anyone because really at this point, like he's got to have enough introspection to realize that maybe this isn't for him. Maybe maybe he's going to be Shep for the rest of his life, right? I just really don't see him settling down and getting married ever. Because even when he finds the most perfect person for him, which was Audrey, he had no issues with Audrey, he still just can't get there. And I do, like I said, feel like a lot of that has to do with like the pressure that is being put on people our age and that kind of thing. I think that if there was no pressure whatsoever, let's say Audrey didn't want to get married or have kids, I think he'd be with her for years. But it's that pressure of being like, you're not being fair to her and her clock is ticking, right? So we have this scene of Vanita and her mom going to lunch. They're both wearing baby blue, which looks amazing on both of them. And now I'm obsessed with this color on Vanita. She needs to wear baby blue all the time. So this is really interesting. Vanita tells the camera that she and her mom, they butt heads really often, and it took her moving out 8 years ago to get on the same page. So they seem to have a really good relationship now. I guess, you know, not everybody's meant to live together, and sometimes it can be a really contentious thing. Honestly, I feel like my sister and I are super close, but if we lived together, I feel like we would really butt heads as well because we live very differently. So it's really great that they are able to come to a common ground and have a great relationship and to have been able to figure out what they needed to get there. And all that was not living together. Makes a lot of sense. So Vanita tells her mom about how things are with Sally and how she's never had to deal with a man coming in the way of her friendship with someone before. But the way that that's coming off makes it sound like they were both interested in Craig, which she's not, right? So she tells her mom that she basically told Sally, you know, go get your man, but when it doesn't work out, don't come crying to me. Now, her mom tells her that that's actually kind of mean, and a friend is a friend regardless of the good or bad times. And girl, Vanita, your mom is right. She is, right? And people I feel like have been telling you that all season. Like, we get how you feel, but you got to let a girl figure it out for herself, right? Sally's an adult. Just let her go through it. I mean, you know, so Vanita tells the camera that maybe she just needs to be a little bit more patient with Sally. And I like that. I like that she's taken some introspection here. She's listened to what her mom said, and she's like, okay, maybe I need to approach this differently. So Shep is back from his travels, and he and Craig are hanging out. And Craig tells him what happened with Sally and how he doesn't think it's fair that Charlie is put in the middle because he never liked Sally. And Shep is like, I mean, you befriended someone quickly, and she thought it meant more than it did. And, you know, he talks to the camera about how Craig is sort of like a chatty guy. He really likes to just like talk a lot. And maybe Sally took that as more than it was. And he even thought that Craig wasn't interested in Sally. But the whole thing about it not being fair, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Sally's allowed to like a man. I don't think she's placing a claim. I mean, some people out there are saying that, but I don't feel that way necessarily. I don't feel like Sally said to Charlie, you can't go out with him. I feel like it's normal for Sally to feel a bit jealous, and it's normal for Charlie to feel a type of way because this is a weird situation. Sally had feelings for Craig. He didn't reciprocate. And then 1 second later, he asked Charlie out. Sally needs a minute to accept that. I feel like any girl would feel this way. If me and my best friend both liked the same guy and he rejected me and wanted her, I would feel jealous towards her. I would need a minute before, I mean, I wouldn't stop being friends with her, but I would just need a minute. And you know, I think because Sally didn't like him that much, I think that's why they're able to be friends to this day and it's all good. But if Sally had like really deep feelings for Craig, this could have like really affected her relationship with Charlie. And that's no one's fault. It's not Craig's fault. It's not Sally's fault. It's not Charlie's fault. You can't help matters of the heart. And if Sally had feelings for him, then she had feelings for him. But I don't think that she was out there being like, no one else can date him. And I really don't think she was placing a claim on him. She was just liking him. Am I wrong? Listen, I know a lot of people don't like Sally, and I'm not even sitting here trying to like Sally. I'm just defending, I guess, what I feel like a girl would do, right? Like, I don't feel like she was telling other people that they can't like him. Yes, she was all over him and maybe trying to go after all the guys in the town, but it's up to the guys to accept her or not, right? Like, let her go at it. Let her go after all the guys. And if anyone wants her back, they'll want her back, right? But I don't know. So Audrey is in town, and it's Rodrigo and Tyler's engagement party. So she's not looking forward to seeing Shep or Craig because of like the Austin rumor that they spread about how like these two girls came up to Shep in New York and was like, your friend Austin is talking to my friend, blah, 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 blah. She didn't like that whole thing because she seemed to think that they did it with malicious intent. She feels like for Craig to make comments like Austin is unhappy is unfair because he has no idea what's going on in the relationship, and it makes her look like she has her head in the sand. what sucks for Audrey is that she does, and it's not her fault, right? Like, Austin is not being honest with her about the fact that their relationship isn't going anywhere. And unfortunately, he is telling everyone else. So he sort of has to end things with her this season before she's capable of seeing it. And the fact that she's probably watching this back now, she is probably livid to see all the things that he's saying. I mean, at the end of the day, this show is about being like open and honest, and you're supposed to communicate with other people on the show in terms of what's going on with you. I think it's normal that Austin is having these talks with his friends, trying to figure out what he wants to do about his relationship with Audrey. It just really sucks for Audrey because she's not aware of these conversations, right? So she thinks her relationship is fine. She thinks that all of these other people don't know anything about their relationship. So who are they to talk? But in actuality, it seems like they know a lot more about her relationship than she does. And that's just so embarrassing for her. She also doesn't like that Austin forgives Craig so quickly. She feels like, they'll have an issue and then, he's running right up to Craig and wanting to talk to him on the phone and stuff. And Austin says it'll never be the same as it was, but Craig has a lot of shit to answer for tonight. So we're at the party and Craig and Shep talk about how Austin is being unfair to Audrey if he doesn't want to marry her. And Craig goes to smooth things over with Sally at Charlie's request. And Sally's like, Craig, you hurt me. And she's like, Austin told me you were done with my friendship. And he tells her, how can you listen to Austin? He's my enemy. You shouldn't believe him. And that's the weird thing. It's like, what are we even watching, right? If Craig considers Austin his enemy, then I think we're at a point of no return in this friendship, right? Like it's so insanely crazy to me. These two hate each other. But also at the same time, Craig, you are lying. He's trying to convince Sally that this is all Austin's fault for telling Sally something that he knew would get in between them, when that is what this show is. You are supposed to tell people what other people are saying about you. You are. And Sally tells the camera that she would believe Austin 10 times over Craig, but is happy to smooth things over. And like, yeah, like for the sake of the show, whatever. But like, Craig is kind of lying, right? Like, Austin came to the sleepover party and was like, he called you chaotic. He said he's done with your friendship. And Craig did say those things, right? And that's why Sally's like, yeah, I'm going to believe Austin. I just don't care to fight with Craig anymore, to be quite honest. So Audrey points out to Austin that Sally has walked past her like a few times, that she's tried to say hi to Sally a few times, but Sally keeps ignoring her. And then Audrey and Sally start like, or sorry, not Audrey and Sally, then Austin and Sally start like hugging and caressing like in Audrey's eye line, which is super weird. And then Sally tells Austin that Craig called him his enemy, and Austin says that he doesn't give a fuck what Craig thinks about him anymore because they don't have a podcast together. And I guess that was the end of the podcast, but we never really got much more on that, I guess. I mean, last season we saw that Craig wanted to like buy him out. I don't know if that ever happened. I'm on the same podcast network as them now, the Believe Network. But yeah, I guess the podcast is over. It's over. But again, it's funny that, Sally is going over to tell Austin what Craig said. And he just seems so over it because he's like, I just know that this guy hates me, right? So I really don't care what he thinks about me anymore. I don't know if he truly means that, because it did seem like there was quite a period of time where he did care a lot about what Craig thought about him. But I just feel like at this point, these two just hate each other so much. And then Sally's like, oh, your girlfriend hates me. And Austin is like, no, she doesn't. But this is where I'm like, Sally, no. Okay, you've been ignoring Audrey all night. Then you were all over Austin in front of her. And then to be like, oh, your girlfriend hates me. No, Sally, don't be that girl. Don't be that girl. Now, the episode ends with Audrey sitting by herself. And when Austin goes to join her, she tells him they need to talk. Now, I wonder if this is going to be the end of them, right? Like, we don't get it to be continued. I don't know if they end up breaking up right then and there. That's very possible. I don't think we ever heard from Austin when this actually happens between them. But like, yeah, this was pretty fucked up for Austin to be like all flirty with Sally right in front of Audrey. I understand and still stick by my guns when I say that like Sally's allowed to like whoever she wants to like. But if someone's in a relationship, don't be flirty with them. Don't be touchy with them. Don't say behind their back, oh, I'd go for him the second that they break up. And say hi to his girlfriend, right? It's really disrespectful. So, you guys know I'm never like team anybody 100%. I very much think that Sally is a pick me. I think that the way she's treating this Austin Audrey situation is very disrespectful. But that being said, I'm going to make one more point that I just sort of thought of. We aren't privy to the conversations that Sally and Austin are having. But we are privy to the conversations that Austin is having with everybody else, where he's saying it's not going to last with Audrey. So maybe he's saying the same things to Sally, and maybe he's flirting with Sally and giving her the impression that, like, yeah, I'm not going to be with her long, and as soon as that's over, I'll be with you. So I think there's a possibility there that the reason Sally is being like this is because Austin has given her the impression that Audrey is not very important. Now, I want to mention something that I saw on Watch What Happens Live. So it was Charlie Manley, which is Charlie's last name, and Dylan Efron, Baby Angel, and Sally was in the audience. Now, the same was when Sally was on Watch What Happens Live. Charlie was in the audience. But there was this game that they were playing. It was like true or false or whatever, something like that. And the question was, for Charlie and Dylan, do you think that Sally and Austin are meant to be together? And Sally gets like emotional and she's like crying a little bit. And Charlie says that she does think that they're meant to be together and that they're the exact same person. And a lot of people out there think that they're together right now. I mean, they've been posting these funny TikToks and stuff. But like, didn't she just sleep with West like a month ago? So I don't know, right? And what does like meant to be even mean when it comes to Austin, right? Like I said, I don't think he's going to marry anybody. And even if her and Austin are like the same person, I still really feel like at his core, he's never really going to settle down. I don't think it's about the person. I think it's about the idea. I think he's met many, many wonderful women who he could theoretically be very happy with. I don't think this is about the person. I think this is about the concept of being with someone forever, and that's just not something he wants. All right, you guys, that is the end of the episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I will see you back later today for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and the Valley Persian style. Until then, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Threads. I have a Facebook group now. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel and also join the Patreon, you guys. It's 4 extra podcast episodes a month for only $5. We are doing Vanderpump Rules from the beginning. It is patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator Podcast. And I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator Podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator Podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BB. See you next time.